aging is not a disease, it is a natural process everyone experiences in their life. How and why we age. There are many hypotheses and theories that explain aging, but one of the most extensively investigated and well-defined theory is the free radical hypothesis, which was proposed earlier in 1956. Dr. Harman in University of Nebraska. So according to this theory, many of our biomolecules are damaged by free radicals, or more correctly, reactive oxygen species generated by many different sources such as ultraviolet, sunlight, air pollution, ionizing radiation, smoking. But free radicals are also generated during our normal metabolism in the mitochondria, and also some immune cells such as macrophages and neutrophils when we are infected by some microbes. So the reactive oxygen species or free radical induced oxidative stress is increased during aging, which damages many cellular molecules, including membranes, lipids, and cytoskeleton. And this leads to organ dysfunction such as the atherosclerosis, dementia, osteoporosis, cancer. Okay? But fortunately, we have an antioxidant system in our body which fight oxidative stress. Notably, this body's antioxidant system declines during aging process. This is the end of use. So there are interesting studies now, the redox signaling involved in aging process and age-associated human disorders. So one important molecule which plays a key role in body's antioxidant defense is the transcription factor NRF2, which was mentioned by Professor Kim in his elegant plenary lecture just before. So NRF2 is so important in cellular defense against oxidative stress. But I mentioned this is transcription factor declines with aging. NRF2 is like other transcription factor is sequestered, present in the cytoplasm, but as an inactive complex, I think this, the inactive the protein, the inhibitor protein KEAP1. So, but when there is oxidative stress, free radicals or reactive oxygen species can covalently modify or oxidize this KEAP1 and then releasing NRF2 to nucleus. Then NRF2 binds to specific consensus sequence present in many the antioxidant genes, such as hemoxinase 1, here H1, and these defend the oxidative stress. So oxidative stress can be, further oxidative stress can be protected, prohibited by inducing NRF2 activation and subsequent antioxidant gene expression. But I mentioned that this NRF2 levels or activities decline during aging with concomitant increase on ROS, which accelerate the aging process and age-associated disorders. Glutathione is reduced form of glutathione is very important, our endogenous antioxidant. Okay? And this very simple molecule, as you know, consists of the 3 amino acids. And glutathione levels are very high, normally 4 or 5 millimolar in the cell. But comparing the glutathione levels between young and old species, especially here in rats, you see here the total reduced glutathione levels here is significantly lower in old rats compared to young rats. And the gene which encodes the enzyme responsible for cellular glutathione synthesis is the NRF2. Again, NRF2 nuclear levels is much lower in old rats than young rats. Okay. So this is just a summary of this study. And then one interesting species, which is very frequently studied in aging study, is here. Oh, I'm sorry, before that, one interesting human disorders, okay, in which NRF2 is implicated is here, Hutchinson-Gilford progeria syndrome. This syndrome is characterized by the premature aging. So the actual individuals of this syndrome is normal at birth, but they grow very slowly, and then patient with this syndrome is characterized by very unique facial face, such as very sharp nose and the prominent eyes and the thin lips, and then protrude the ears. So you probably see these people in some movie films. Okay? So interestingly, recently it was discovered that the NRF2 pathway is not properly working in this patient. So repression of NRF2-mediated antioxidant response is a key contributor to premature aging in Hutchinson-Gilford progeria syndrome. So now we know that NRF2 is a guardian of health span and as well as longevity and keeper of the special longevity. So one important animal model which is frequently used in studying longevity and aging is here, naked mole rat. So it looks like a mice, but it's actually kind of rat. They live in the dark environment, don't move much. And interestingly enough, these mice, this rat, this animal, live very long. Normally, mice live, average lifespan is 2 to 4 years, okay, or 3 years. But this animal, how long they live? As long as more than 30 years. And the female of naked mole rats are still fertile. Okay? So they can be pregnant. So amazing. And then it was found that the naked mole rat express higher, much higher levels NRF2, and with concomitant reduction in its inhibitory protein KEAP1 I already mentioned. Then the question, why the naked mole rats live that long? And these animals are resistant to even cancer. Okay? And there are many explanations, but one interesting explanation is this particular molecule, hyaluronate synthase 2 gene, abbreviated as HAS2. So these animals express higher levels of this particular gene encoding hyaluronic acid, especially high molecular mass hyaluronic acid. And then when I saw this paper, I had a question, actually idea. So then is hyaluronic acid responsible for overexpression or overactivation of NRF2? So I was interested, if I have some student, maybe I can ask them, but if I have a good idea, others also have. It was already published by Japanese scientists 10 years ago, 2015. So hyaluronic acid, the final product of a gene, does upregulate the redox-sensitive transcription factor NRF2. Okay? And there is some physiological condition which can increase the lifespan of many experimental animals and species. Okay? This is calorie restriction. If we limit the calorie, there is the increased lifespan of Drosophila, C. elegans, mice, rats, even non-human primates, monkeys. Okay? So if you see this data on the upper left, if we increase the calorie restrictions 25%, there is a small increased lifespan. If we further increase 55%, there is more increase in the longevity. 65%, 10% further restrict, not much difference. This is the maximal point. If we further restrict calorie beyond the 65%, we cannot survive, right? So why then the calorie restriction increase the lifespan of species? This is we call hormesis. Hormesis is defined as the moderate health benefit of mild stress. So if there is no stress, people can become lazy. If there is too much stress, we can be collapsed. The student, if there is no examination, they don't study. They'll be lazy. Too much load, they give up. Not good. Moderate burden, they study hard. Okay? They can build up their knowledge. This is the hormesis. So calorie restriction is kind of stress, but moderate calorie restriction causes the, I think, the kind of the health benefit. This is the good example of hormesis. But I mentioned that calorie restriction increases lifespan of many species except humans. But recently, there is one controlled, actually the placebo included randomized clinical trial. This is the study in which volunteers are subject to 15% calorie restriction up to 2 years. And it turns out that the 15% calorie restriction increased some kind of lifespan of humans and also diminishes the age-associated disorders such as Alzheimer's disease or the Parkinson's disease, also diabetes. So this paper was published in Cell Metabolism a few years ago. So calorie restriction prevents adverse effects associated with cell aging according to this calorie study, clinical study. And interestingly, one natural product, resveratrol, which is present in wine or grape, has been shown to increase the lifespan of mice. So here in the left side, published by Harvard group in Nature a few years ago, if we feed the mice with high calorie, high fat diet, they live shorter, as seen in the red line. But interestingly enough, if we give mice with high calorie diet together with the resveratrol, you see they live almost as long as the control mice in the blue line. Okay? And so this means that resveratrol may mimic the calorie restriction in mice. And then calorie restriction mimicking effect of resveratrol has been shown in this clinical study, again published in Cell Metabolism. So calorie restriction like effect of 30-day administration resveratrol supplementation actually have the health beneficial effect. So calorie restriction mimetics such as resveratrol is attracting in terms of increasing lifespan and diminishing age-associated disorders. So now you know that French people drink wine almost every day. I have many French friends, so during dinner, so they normally open one or a couple of bottles of wine. So drinking wine has been shown to prevent some cerebral disease such as Alzheimer's disease and stops dementia. But I think this has not been proven in clinical studies. As many of you are aware, Alzheimer's disease is characterized by accumulation of some senile plaques derived from beta amyloid, A-beta. Okay? And A-beta generates reactive oxygen species and hydrogen peroxide. And in the presence of transition metal ions such as iron or copper, and hydrogen peroxide produce extremely reactive hydroxy radical, which damage some brain macromolecules. This leads to the Alzheimer's disease. And here we can measure the reactive oxygen species generated in some cells by using the fluorescence dye, DCF dye. And my previous PhD student, Dr. Jung-hee Jang, now the faculty member in Keimyung University in Korea, during her PhD study showed that resveratrol protects beta-amyloid-induced oxidative PC12 cell death. As you see here, A-beta treatment to these cells result in increased ROS generation. This is associated with the apoptotic cell death as measured by tunnel staining. Resveratrol treatment attenuate both beta-amyloid-induced oxidative stress and apoptotic cell death. And later studies by Chu Ye from Shenyang University in China during her master study showed that resveratrol upregulate hemoxynase 1 expression through activation of NRF2 in the same cell line. And this symposium, I think, somehow linked to the gut and brain axis. So I have to say something okay, related to this subject. So now we know that gut can control our brain. So Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease are somehow associated with some disruption in our gut microbiota. So, and it is very important. We have to it right for maintaining our good microbiota to prevent some brain disease. Interestingly, some amino acid contained in our diet, protein diet, are metabolized by gut microbiota, especially the phenylalanine present in many protein food can be converted to important metabolite, phenylacetic acid. Okay? And PAA level is increased in elderly people and aged animals. And this causes some endothelial cell senescence. So this phenylalanine acid, acetic acid derived from protein, is responsible for senescence or aging. But there are further metabolism of phenylacetic acid in the liver or kidney to generate this phenylacetylglutamine or phenylacetylglycine. So in humans, this one, phenylalanine glutamine, which is the product of conjugation of phenylacetic acid with the glutamine okay, in the liver. And this also responsible for age-associated disorders. Okay. But conversely, this compound, 4-hydroxyphenylacetic acid, I mentioned that phenylacetic acid accumulate in elderly people responsible for senescence. But this 4-hydroxy derivative generated by another amino acid, tyrosine, or some polyphenols, including resveratrol in gut, have beneficial effect. They protect kidney, and they may protect some age-associated disorders. So maybe resveratrol's health beneficial effect I introduced is responsible for, not fully, but at least in part, for this 4-hydroxyphenylacetic acid formed in gut microbiota. So oxidative stress is, I mentioned that, good or bad, but moderate oxidative stress, according to Holmes' study, can produce the health beneficial effect. And this is somehow mediated by NRF2. So too much ROS can cause the irreversible cellular damage and accelerate the aging. But moderate oxidative stress can stimulate the NRF2 pathway, potentiate the antioxidant defense, so increase the longevity. Exercise, physical activity is also generate moderate oxidative stress by general reactive oxygen species and activate the NRF2 system, increase the antioxidant defense. So this is one reason physical activity is good for our health. One of my former PhD students from the Department of Physical Education at Seoul National University did some human studies. He collected blood samples from volunteers. They are subject to about 20 minutes exhaustive exercise followed by 1 hour rest, okay? And measured the cellular glutathione level. So immediately after exercise, cellular glutathione level is significantly reduced. It's transient, but during 1 hour resting, recover, the glutathione level is somehow recovered, not fully. And this is associated with the transient increase in the expression of GCLC, glutamate cysteine ligase, which is the enzyme responsible for cellular glutathione expression. So here, transient increase of the glutathione synthesizing enzyme is responsible for recovery of glutathione during resting period. And this is associated with the transient increase in NRF2. And this was reproduced in mice studies. So mice put in the treadmill, and they are well adapted. Okay? And then measure the glutathione levels. Again, 30 minutes after exercise, the glutathione level is decreased. You see the red bar. And we also noticed that hemoxygenation level is transiently decreased after extensive exercise. But this is somehow recovered, okay, thereafter. So this is probably associated with the increased expression or activation of NRF2. So NRF2 mediates a redox adaptation to exercise. I mentioned that resveratrol mimics the calorie restriction, but it also mimics the exercise effect because they have a common hormetic effect. So here, we have, if we intake the moderate amount of resveratrol in grapefruit, it can activate NRF2. Professor Kim again mentioned some natural product activate NRF2. It mimics the exercise as well as calorie restriction effect. However, if we intake too much resveratrol or antioxidant phytochemicals as a supplement, it may have adverse effect because too much antioxidant can block the generation of reactive oxygen species generated by calorie restriction or physical activity, dampen the beneficial effect of NRF2. So too much antioxidant can diminish the NRF2 transcription factor activity. So in that case, we cannot expect the beneficial effect, but it blunt, okay, dampen the positive effect of exercise. So hormesis is important in Chinese traditional herbal medicine. Many herbals contains the NRF2 activating components. They act somehow stress, not all. So here, cellular stress activate the NRF2, and many phytochemicals contained in Chinese herbal medicine also activate NRF2. Some generate moderate amount of reactive oxygen species. Others can covalently modify key-bond inhibitor protein in cysteine residue. Professor Yoshito Kumagai, who is the invited speaker, tomorrow he'll probably talk about this electrophilic stress. Yeah. So pay attention to his. So adaptive hormesis is also important. This is the acupuncture components. I just searched the literature before I came here and noticed that some acupuncture is acted as the stress. Okay? It generates the mild oxidative stress. It does activate NRF2 signaling, very important. I was surprised there are many papers on, and then question is, we have to know what is the optimal levels of acupuncture. It determines the benefit or the harmful effect. So this is important point, difficult to define. So adequate dose of acupuncture can activate NRF2 signaling through hormesis. This is the principle of personalized medicine. So here, acupuncture can be considered in precision medicine, not only Western medicine, but also Oriental medicine. I think that we can consider the personalized medicine through acupuncture practice. So acupuncture has some effect on oxidative stress. It can diminish the oxidative stress by activating NRF2 signaling in Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. So acupuncture ameliorates the cognitive impairment in hippocampus. And acupuncture attenuates myocardial ischemia reperfusion injury-induced ferroptosis. Again, in these days, ferroptosis is the hard issue. So some brain disease is associated with ferroptotic cell death. So again, acupuncture can attenuate, protect myocardial ischemia reperfusion injury-induced ferroptosis through activation of NRF2 signaling. Electroacupuncture preconditioning attenuates myocardial ischemia reperfusion injury in rats through NRF2-mediated reduction of oxidative stress and pyroptosis. This is another form of cell death besides the pyroptosis. Okay, so if I summarize my lecture this afternoon, reactive oxygen species has differential effect. If there is too much ROS, it can cause the cellular damage, okay? Including ferroptosis, pyroptosis, you can name it. And if further increased oxidative stress leads to cell death, okay? Yeah, but mild ROS is important because they act as a signaling molecule, especially hydrogen peroxide in blue line. But moderate ROS, here, it is important for our body's cellular stress defense. It is hormesis I already mentioned, and adaptation to further stress, such as oxidative stress. And this is mainly mediated by NRF2 transcription factor. So now, at the beginning of my lecture, I introduced oxidative theory of aging. Now we revise, okay? Now we call cell signaling disruption theory of aging. So according to this differential effect ROS, depending on the individual cellular redox status, so people respond to the stress and differentially. So this cell signaling disruption theory of aging is important. Okay, finally, one announcement. We have the International Conference, Nutrition and Physical Activity on Aging, Obesity and Cancer. This will be held in next year, early January, in Yeosu. It's a beautiful harbor we call Napoli of Asia. And Professor Lee is one of the key organizers. Thank you for your kind attention.